Hi, my name is Šedivý, and this is how my keyboard looks like. It's the standard US keyboard. Is anybody else using the same keyboard layout? Oh, great. I like to see so many people because it's a really great keyboard layout. It's so beautiful, it's so simple. It covers the whole ASCII and nothing else. And on each key you have like maximum of 2 characters. And it works perfect to program in Python or in other programming languages, to use text editors like VI, and also to type English text or text in languages that work with with the basic Latin alphabet. Ale ako náhle chcem napísať moje priezvisko, ktoré sa píše Šedivý, s mekčením na Š a s dĺžňom na Y, tak nemôžem používať americkú klávesnicu, pretože tam nie sú všetky mekčenia a dĺžne, a preto musím používať slovenskú klávesnicu. Slovenská klávesnica je kverc namiesto kverty, niektoré znaky sú inde, číslice sa robia so shiftom, ale aspoň môžem písať po slovensky. Solange man aber anfängt auf Deutsch zu schreiben, wo zum Beispiel das scharfe S da ist, braucht man die deutsche Tastatur. Die kriegt man hier. Dann gibt es natürlich wieder andere Zeichen, die irgendwo wandern, aber das ist ein bisschen anders, Querz, wieder so wie die slowakische. Und wer die deutsche Tastatur benutzt und mich jetzt gerade versteht, wer weiß, wie man das große scharfe S schreibt, weil es seit dem letzten Jahr das auch gibt. Auf der deutschen Tastatur kriegt ihr das nicht hin. Na českej klávesnici potrebujete zase psát nejaké nabodeníčka, ktorá sú i na slovenskej klávesnici, ale na českej, jak chcete napsať 333 stříbrných stříkaček, tak je potřeba české klávesnice, nebo s kroužkem a tak dále. Est-ce que quelqu'un a déjà écrit sur un clavier français? Parce que le clavier français, c'est ni QWERTY, ni QWERTZ, c'est AZERTY. Le point, on le fait avec un shift, le M, il est totalement ailleurs, et c'est une petite, non pas une petite, c'est une grande catastrophe. Moi, j'ai appris à utiliser VI sur un clavier français. C'était à l'époque où je me suis dit, non, c'est pas possible de produire un tel éditeur de texte qui n'est pas du tout logique, mais c'était le problème du clavier français. El teclado castellano es un poco más diferente. Si necesitáis signos de interrogación o de exclamación abiertos o la ñ, necesitáis el teclado castellano. Polska klawiatura jest bardzo podobna do amerykańskiej, ale kto jak chce napisać jakieś kropki, ogonki albo kreski a pisze do kogoś, kto się nazywa Grzegorz Bęczysikiewicz i mieszka w Szączyżewo-Wsi zapowiad Wękowody, jest potrzeba polskiej klawiatury. La tastiera italiana, come conoscete, non mi piace tanto perché non capisco come potete scrivere le lettere maiuscole. Devo guardare come fare questo. Po svenska anvender ma medring, a magyar ABC-ben kettős L és E közé található is. Kvankam Esperanto estas internacia lingvo, ankaŭ ekzistas tre specialaj literoj. Ve türkse debut knaktali ve küçük naktasi is var. And we have only scratched the surface. So, you see that we have one keyboard, one physical keyboard, a few logical keyboards. We have only touched a few European languages, and it's already a mess like this. Who wants to remember all these keyboard layouts? And if we need to type all these characters or only a part of them, it is quite difficult to do it on the keyboard layout if you have to switch them and remember where all your programming and other stuff moves around. Here we have only lowercase characters. If we add uppercase characters, it will be even more complicated. And here I have neglected all the characters that you type with the right alt GR. So it looks quite complicated. So how can you type in other languages? You can use character map for characters that you don't really use every day, but scrolling it in order to type all possible words in other language or remembering these Unicode code points is an impossible task for people who type in more than 1 or 2 languages every day. But there is a solution. In the 80s, there were keyboards with compose key. Now, later there arrived operating systems like MS-DOS who got rid of them, but on some older keyboards you can still find these compose characters. How do they work? You remember a combination of 2 characters, and they give you everything you need. So this is a symbol for compose key. And then, for example, if I want to type in Italian with this grave accent, I remember grave accent is backtick, and which is on your American keyboard on the top left side. So if you want to type an E with accent grave accent, you remember this. If you want to type in French accent grave or in any other language, you just remember backtick is this grave accent. And it works for combination for most or all special characters which we use in all possible Latin alphabets. When you want to type my last name, which starts with an Karen with S, it is CS. This is Šedivý, a dot, like in Polish. And there are also some other combinations. For example, the scharf SS in German, it is with SS, it's the lowercase. And if you do compose and then shift S, it is the uppercase scharf SS, which you cannot get on the German keyboard layout, as I told a few minutes ago. Everybody understood? No. And there are quite a lot of other useful characters that you can use. For example, 3 dots, it is like compose dot dot, and a lot of other combinations that you can use. I just showed you a few that are interesting and that are useful, that I use almost every day. All of them are defined in your operating system in this file. And it is a file with over 6,000 lines where all these character combinations are defined. They are for the Latin alphabet, they work like this, but there are also, among these 6,000 lines, there are also characters, combination characters for Cyrillic or for Greek alphabet. If you don't find something that you need in this file, you can always define your own .xcompose in your home directory in the same format. For example, as an idea, if you type sometimes Greek characters, you can define that the combination of compose GA would print lowercase alpha in Greek. Or if you write in Cyrillic, you can try with RA for Russian alpha, or Cyrillic alpha. The C is taken for current, but you can certainly find some combination. So now we know how to type them, or how to define them, but you still have a modern keyboard and you don't have a compose key on it. There is another file that defines all the escape map combinations where you can map your compose key. So you just choose right alt or left win or right win or menu, control, caps lock, anything you wish. I have an older ThinkPad, I use menu. On a standard keyboard, I use right window character. But for example, if you have a modern ThinkPad, I recommend you to use print screen, because there is print screen on the bottom left, which you probably don't use to print your screen every time, but it is very useful to print to use it as a compose key. In your init files, you just tell your computer set XKB map US, or if you still use German or French or Slovak keyboard layout, you define your keyboard layout, and then you say option compose menu or something else, and suddenly you have a new free key on your keyboard that you can use to write in most other languages. We can do something more with our keyboard when we are already hacking our keyboard. So, which key are we going to hack the next? Right. Caps lock preventing you from logging since 20 years. What can we do with caps lock? We don't need as a caps lock, so maybe what other key could we put on it? How about a compose? Yes, a possibility, but how about control? Because control is on the bottom left, it's quite far away, and caps lock is next to your A. So we have always your pinky finger on it. So maybe we can tell in the same file, we can find the definition that we can put a control modifier on the caps lock. This way, we define set XKB map, we have compose with menu, and then caps is control modifier. But that's not everything. If we are already hacking the caps lock, why should we do it make it just control? If we can make 2 keys out of it. Because control, do you ever hit your control? No, you always press your control, you hold it, and then you press some other key. Is there some other key that you just always hit and never combine it with other keys? It's escape. So maybe we can tell that if I hold caps lock and I press another key, it will work like control. And if I just hit it and release immediately, it will work like escape. You just remember there is a program for that, escape, that you just start and you say, okay, my caps lock is escape. It works combined with the control modifier for caps lock, and now we have our perfect keyboard. You just print your stickers a little bit smaller so that they fit on the keys. You put these two lines into your init files for your window manager, and then you are done, and we are ready to Vim. Who is using Vim here? Ah, everyone. Almost everyone. Great. So, what is Vim? Vim starts somewhere here, around the same year as Python started. Both Vim and Python have a Dutch benevolent dictator for life. But Vim is based on something that you probably never used before, because most of you are quite young here, VI. So just to come back, Vim is the open source implementation that initially was built for Amiga by Bram Moolenaar, and later it evolved and was written also for most other operating systems. Later here, 3, 4 years ago, there was a fork NeoVim that we are going to look at later. But what is more interesting is here, the prehistory of computer programming and text editing. VI is the original Unix editor, but the standard editor is ed. Anyone already used ed? Huh? Line-based, yes. It is the line-based editor. Because, do you know these two guys? Dennis Ritchie, Ken Thompson, do you know them? They are the authors of Unix. Without these two guys, no Unix, no BSD, no Linux, no Mac OS, no Android, just the Windows everywhere. And you see they are working on their computer PDP-11. It is a machine that with, I don't know how many kilobytes of RAM it had. But what is more interesting are these two, ASR33, are these two terminals. The big computer doesn't have any interface to communicate with, but these terminals, they have keyboard. And you see this? This is a roll of paper with a printer. A very, very long roll of paper. There is no display. It means how do you communicate with your computer? You type something, and it responds by printing. And the printer, it is not a printer like you have today, like I press print and it comes a A4 sheet of paper printed with anything I want and another one and another one. This was a line printer. It means that if I wanted to tell something and it answered by one line, it just, like a typing machine, it typed one line, and I could read it and I could type next command and there was another answer. And this is how these two guys wrote the whole operating system, Unix. It was much, much, much smaller and simpler than Linux is nowadays, but it was a wholly working operating system. And an operating system needs a shell, and it needs compiler, and it needs an editor. And the first editor they wrote was ed. How does ed look like? It's something like this. Imagine line after line, so you always, and everything that has white background, it was me who wrote it, and the yellow is the answer from the computer. So we are now going to edit a file. We start ed, and we say a, it means append lines, then I write 2 lines, dot means end of my comment, and then I say n prints the current line with the number of the lines. So this is 2, and everyone in Python 9. Then I say, okay, append another line, dot, and then I say print the whole file with the %. And then it prints the whole file. And then I say, okay, in the first line, replace world by Python 9 and delete the second line, print it again. Okay, I see the whole file, write it to the drive, to the hard disk, 35 bytes, quit, finished. Learn ed. Because if everything breaks on your computer, this is the last editor that you can use using a microphone and speaker. Maybe there is even an interface that can speak with you, because if your your screen doesn't work, then this is the only editor that will always work. This is also an editor that always works at any speed when communicating with some remote server. If your terminal, your virtual terminal is set to any setting, any unsupported setting, this will always work. It's a little bit, you have to learn a few things and also to get used to it, but it's also very practical to know something like this. So this was the year 1970. Then we move a few years ahead, and we are now with the ADM3A terminal, where Bill Joy wrote the visual extension of ed, or the X editor, VI, because there was a display where he could see the whole text at the same time, and he could move around with a cursor. This is how the keyboard layout. This is the keyboard layout of the terminal. Do you see escape and control? And do you understand why I told you to put them much nearer to you? Because nowadays escape is just far away and control is also far away. Here is escape and control next to each other. There were some changes since then, but what is interesting is this AJKL. And this is probably what you always see. Oh, why I have to use VI? I have to learn this AJKL. They are not logical. They are logical. They were used at those times. And I will show you why they are logical. You know this? These are the first 32 characters of the ASCII table. So 0 up to 31. The 32 is space, and then comes all the letters and alphabet and other special characters. And how can you print, or how can you enter these special characters? You take the letter, the normal letter, take the ASCII value of it, and subtract 64. So it means if I print Control C, C is 67, minus 64 is 3. So with Control C, I can send the character end of text. This is what you do. Control C is nothing with copy text. This is really to enter the end of text. If you use Linux and you open a Windows file in text editor, sometimes you see like caret and M. Caret M is carriage return. This is exactly what makes the difference between Windows line endings and line termination and Linux line termination. And there are other characters. So, and now you see there is H, it's backspace. This is sometimes when someone writes something ironical and he writes caret H, caret H, caret H just to make visual that he wants to delete some words. It is exactly this backspace. So, and you know that now that H on the terminal or in VI moves character to the left, and the H is backspace. J is line feed, it means next line, and then the authors, they just put K and L next to each, although they mean something different, to make them look practical and to be accessible practically on the keyboard. You see that you can use keyboard for everything because keyboard has plenty of keys. And you have 10 fingers, and you don't always have to search for your mouse and then try to grunt on the computer, hey, I want this, but with VI, you can speak in full sentences. How do these full sentences look like? The whole keyboard contains comments. It looks quite a lot, but a text editor is something that you are using every day for several hours a day. Maybe it's worth learning it. AJKL is green, but these are actually movement keys that we use quite little. Not so often because, as I will show here, AJKL are the basic movements. But usually you want to move to the end of the word, to the next word, to next characters, to the end of line, to the beginning of line, previous paragraph, next paragraph. So this means that VI allows you to move around your screen much, much, much faster than just using AJKL. And AJKL and also other keys that are used in VI gave idea to many other software, a lot of other software that is using these movements or modes or search. Is anybody using some? Well, Bash or Z Shell? Probably everyone. i3, it's a tiling manager. I like it, but the first thing that you have to do is remap the 4 movement keys one to the right because to the left because they are using JKL, and the fourth letter, the fourth key that is next to L. As we have seen before, it is on every keyboard layout, it is something different. Mox is a screen, alternative to screen. There are some browsers, email programs, viewers, even graphical programs, VI Paint, never use that, and many more of them. And there are many text editors and IDEs that use VI mode. This VI mode works from 50 up to 98%. 98%, it means that every 3 or 4 minutes you do something that the editor doesn't support, and they are used from VI to do it like that, and it's just frustration. That's why I'm using VI for everything that has something to do with texts. Programming, configuration files, these slides were done in VI, writing emails, everything. And if it is a tool that one is using every time, every day along the whole career, and several hours a day, it's always good to refer to XKCD, to this chart that tells you, okay, how often do you do this task, and how much time you shave off, and this gives you how many days, weeks, or months can you consecrate to learn to do this task well. And since text editing is something that you are doing probably the whole time, there is no reason to tell, oh, that's too complicated for me, I just need something fast. No, you don't need, you need to do your job perfectly. No, as well as possible. Because there is another task that probably everybody is doing quite a lot, not quite a lot, even less than editing texts, but has consecrated much more time to learn it and also more money, driving a car. Who is here spending more time in a car than in front of a computer here? Nobody. So it means that if you are already able to give the money and time to learn to drive a car, and you hope, okay, if once I learn the car, I learn how to drive a car, I can then drive all the cars. Well, there are usually in most cars these things work the same, but there are many others that are different from car to car. For example, the reverse and other. So, if you want to learn text editor or some other software tool, what can you do? You can always Google if you have a problem, ask at Stack Overflow. The most popular VI question at Stack Overflow is how to exit it. But if you want really to learn how to use it, with how the author, what were the ideas of the author behind it, is always a good idea to read a book. For VI, I can recommend the author Junil. He wrote a few years ago Practical Vim. It is the best technical book I have read about Vim. And it is a book that is like 5 years old. It could have been 20 years old or written 20 years in the future. It is always the same because VI or Vim doesn't change much. This book concentrates on the basics of Vim, on the ideas how to move around, how to work with text, how to think like a text professional, like a text hacker. The other book, Modern Vim, is a new one. It comes in print soon. I was lucky to be one of the technical reviewers. I can recommend this book, but it is more consecrated to the current version of Vim 8 and NeoVim and how to squeeze them to the maximum and build great IDEs out of them. Junil is also author of Vimcasts. These are videocasts where he explains very nicely a lot of tricks with Vim 8 or with NeoVim. So Vim 8, NeoVim, what is it? Vim in the version 8 is here almost 30 years. NeoVim is newer, and it was forked from Vim 7.4 like 4 or 5 years ago. It's more community-driven. Many people say that it's easier to submit updates or in GitHub to submit pull requests or improvements. It brought, before Vim 8, it brought asynchronously. asynchronous work, it means you can go on type, work with your text, and if there is a task that takes a little bit more time, like linting, compiling, testing, auto-completion, it will prepare it in the background and show it to you when it is prepared. It has a terminal built in, which allows you to communicate with the output of your commands. It has modern defaults, runs on modern systems. It means it got rid of the support of many older operating systems that are not anymore in use. The configuration file is 100% compatible, but is somewhere else in some other directory, and it has great support for plugins. And this is important. Python NeoVim, because this allows you the Pythonistas, to use the language you know the best in order to improve your text hacking. Vim or Python? How can we use Vim in order to work with our Python? Of course, it has syntax highlighting, indenting, auto-completion, asynchronous linting, Git. So it means you can see immediately the changes comparing to your current Git commit, and you can also manipulate directly from Vim your Git commits. You can search with Silver Searcher or with a fuzzy file. There is no snippets, although with Python we don't really need automatically generated code, because this is nice about the programming language, which is I write it for people to read it after me, and if I just generate automatically 50 classes or a lot of files, it is not really nice. Folding and interaction with terminal and IPython. Oh, spell checking. Spell checking is very practical in Vim because it checks only the comments and strings. So you can name your variables as you wish, it will not spell check them. On the other side, in the other direction, as I told you, can Python your Vim or your NeoVim. If you install Patsman, it is in Arch Linux, in Ubuntu, Debian, you can install the Python NeoVim, or in Conda, you can install the NeoVim Python package, and then it allows you to import NeoVim, and then you start Vim or NeoVim with NeoVim listen address here in this pipe, and then you can attach to a running NeoVim instance, or you can start your own NeoVim instance, and this is what is beautiful. You just have your objects where you have the whole access to your current file, so you can write a Python plugin that does something with your code, or you can run Vim commands directly from Python. As an example, I wrote myself a plugin for my email program. I'm using Mat, and NeoVim starts when I write an email. Automatically, it looks who I'm writing to in our company, and if it is like 1, 2, 3 people, it says always hello and the names, first names. If it is more people, it tells in German hello zusammen, so hello together. If it is someone outside, some email outside of our company, it says dear Mr. and appends the signature. So you write this file, you put it into the plugin directory, update remote plugins, and you are done. How to learn Vim? You can always customize your Vim, but it's a really good idea to learn basic Vim as it is, without any plugins, without any mappings, without any changes. Because Vim is, I don't know whether Vim or Ed are more ubiquitous, but Vim is on most servers. So if you just log in, you don't have the chance to update the configuration. So it's always useful to know how to get around with the standard setup. But if you have your own Vim on your computer, you can, in order to learn AJKL and other movement keys, you can deactivate arrow keys. It was a really nice frustration of my colleagues who wanted to scroll through a file on my computer. You can remap some keys, okay? You can shorten some comments, the appearance, of course, with the color scheme, some lines to show you where you are in your code, like the color column in the 80s column, or some other useful stuff. Behavior, for example, if you scroll through the file, you don't want to have your cursor on the last line, but you always want to have a buffer of 2 or 3 lines on the top or on the bottom, so that if you scroll down, you always see 3 more lines. And of course, plugins. I'm not going to show you a list of all my plugins or read my vimrc. Who wants to see me afterwards, we can have a nice chat about that. But the most important thing about customizing your Vim, don't put any lines that you don't understand. And this is not only for vimrc, this is for any configuration file that you are writing. Because if you put something that you don't understand or that something breaks, there is always add that you can use to fix your vimrc. But if you git your dot files, you have always the chance to have a stable state of all your configuration files and then test something and then return to them. Who is getting their dot files? Yeah. So how it works? It means that dot files, it means that in your home directory you have your vimrc, you have your z shell rc, you have some other configuration files, and you just git them locally, and you can also synchronize them with some remote server. Some do it on their public GitHub repo, but you can also have some private repo or some other server where you can synchronize your files with. It's practical because you don't lose your files if your computer breaks. If you change your company or computer, you always can take them with you. They are a sort of your technical CV that you build, work on your whole career and improve them the whole time, or adapt them to your needs. Maybe if you come to some later age, you will need some bigger letters, characters, or some other colors. And you can always try things out and return to a stable state. There are several possibilities how to store your dot files. I have found one that I like really quite a lot, is to set a new alias for Git and then tell, okay, my work tree is my home directory with everything that is below it, and my Git dir, which is usually .git, is my home dot files. This way, when I use config, it is an alias for Git. I can use config with commit, with pull push, merge, with everything. It will look into all the files that are currently tracked in my home directory and will communicate with the Git repository in my dot files. This way, I initialize a new bear repository, and then this is also important, config local status show untracked files is no. It means if I do config status, it ignores all the files that I have in my home directory, and it shows me only the changes that I did in the few files that I am currently tracking. And this way, I can tell config add my init vim, and then commit branch, push pull, everything. And this way, you can manage the configuration of your tools. You can have a control on them and communicate the changes between your computers. And this is the most important, to have good tools, because without enjoying them, you cannot enjoy your work. Thank you very much.
Someone has a question? Okay.
Let's say I want to learn Vim, but I use the Dvorak layout. Should I change it to QWERTY every time I use Vim, or keep it?
I wouldn't change the keyboard layout. This is exactly what I showed at the beginning. I'm not switching my keyboard layout when I'm typing in Polish or French. And I wouldn't change the keyboard layout, because this is, you have one brain, single brain, single pair of hands, single physical keyboard. And it's always a good idea to have one channel of communication with the computer as far as possible. So through the logical or the keyboard layout and up to the editor. So I wouldn't change it. I have never used Dvorak. I don't know how can you work with it with Vim, but I have used the French keyboard. It cannot be worse than that.
Other question?
Not just question, just a hint. I don't know if you ever had been in situation to try teaching someone Vim and they always use something different with mouse or everything else. And there is one website which is Vim Adventure. I don't know if you ever played. It's like an old style Nintendo game like Zelda, but everything you do learning sequences of Vim. So if you want to try Vim and you've never tried Vim, I recommend you playing a few levels in Vim Adventure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a great talk. Do you know a Vim plugin for go to definition? Do you know the go to definition? Do you know any?
Yeah, in Python we can have a look at it after. I think in Python I'm using something that.
Oh.
Yeah. Jedi, yeah, Jedi, yeah.
One question and one suggestion. The question is, how many languages do you speak?
You have heard?
No. Everyone like your mother language? What?
I don't know.
Wonderful. What?
I cannot count it.
Right. And I keep my Vim RC file in Dropbox. So I have one Vim RC for every computer. And I put just one line in the computer loading that file. So when I change something, it's changed for every computer.
But Dropbox, it means that you have to be connected online the whole time.
Sure. But okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
And there is also one detail that I have to use some branches between my home and work computer because there are some subtle details that are a little bit different. For example, with the compose key, well, this is not Vim, but with the compose key, on my ThinkPad I have a menu, but I have no right window. And right window on the big keyboard, the menu is too far from me. I use the right window, so there is this dot files. This allows you also to create branches if you have more computers that you have to communicate with.
And with compose key, you know the character that you obtain with the CCCP, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a CCCP. Yeah, there was one compose key. If you type compose CCCP, it prints the communist symbol. Yeah.
I personally recently switched from Vim 8 to NeoVim because of certain like lagging support for just like Python and virtual environments and being tied to like the version of Python that the program was compiled with. Are you using NeoVim? Do you have a take on like what the future is versus like Vim 8, the trajectory that they're on versus NeoVim's trajectory?
What is the future of both editors? I mean,
Do you think one will win out? Do you think they're at parity? Do you think one is better than the other one?
I switched to NeoVim before Vim 8. So I have never used Vim 8 with all the new stuff, with asynchronous, with plugins. And now sticking to NeoVim, but that may change. But of course, on our servers at work, we have Vim, but I'm using just the standard Vim on the servers, but my NeoVim is already at a little bit higher level. But I believe as I looked on the list of changes in NeoVim, they are taking a lot of patches from Vim. Because if there is some update in Vim, they also take it to NeoVim. I think the only command they didn't take over was smile. Smile. In Vim 8, if you do command smile, enter, it prints just a smiley, a big smiley over the whole screen. That doesn't work in NeoVim. Okay, I'm around until Sunday, so we can have a chat afterwards. Thank you very much.